So the National League is probably one of the most interesting promotion races in football this season. So this is the highest level of non-league in English football, and these days it is more of an extension to the football league, I feel, as opposed to non-league. It's almost just, the quality of the league is higher than I feel it ever has been at this moment in time. And I think the reason why this league is so competitive, but also so unforgiving and so hard to predict, is the fact that only one team can go up automatically. That's still how it works. That only the winners can go up. The other six, the rest of the top seven left go into the playoffs. So only two can go up eventually. So there's always some really good teams that will miss out on the promotion in this league, and that will no doubt happen again this season. So we're going to go through the top seven all individually, have a look at their chances of going up, what they need to do, and whether they're likely to win the playoffs, all that sort of stuff. But there's a couple of teams just outside the top seven as well that I still feel could get into there as well. So we'll have a look at them as well. Now, what's another thing to note about this league is a lot of teams are on different amounts of games, played a different amount of games. So but everyone is played in between 31 and 35 matches. So a lot of teams do have games in hand. So that is something that could be crucial as well at this stage. So starting at the top two, the top two really it's a two-horse race to get the one automatic promotion spot. Now it's certainly looking like anyway. You've got York, who are currently top, and they've played 34 matches, and Rochdale are second. They've played 33. They've got a game in hand. They're both separated by a point right now. You've got York on 80 points and Rochdale on 79. That game in hand for Rochdale, could that prove crucial? Time will tell. But what I really did want to note as well is Rochdale are at home to York on the final day of the season. That could well be a case of winner takes all. The winner gets promoted. That could be a really, really interesting game. It's really good that it's worked out, actually, that them two do face on the final day. That could be a very, very memorable match. So York have scored more goals than anyone by quite a way this season. They're the league's top scorers by a long, long way, and their striker as well, Ollie Pearce, has got more goals than anyone else by quite a long way as well. 28 goals this season is pretty impressive, and well, this is why I think it's crucial York go up this year. They'll no doubt be, if they don't, they're a real risk of losing him to a Football League side, and without their top man, it's going to be a lot harder to cope. You've got the fact that this is very close to joining Notts County last summer, so the fact they was able to keep hold of him for this season, I think they really do need to go up this time round. But you've got Rochdale as well, not score goals, but what their speciality is defence. They have got the best. They've conceded less goals than everyone else, 9 less than anyone else, which is impressive. And that's really what I think their key has been this season. Rochdale being hard to beat, and their improvement over the last couple of years has been good as well. Because I mean, they spent 102 years in the Football League to be relegated in 2023. And well, this is their third year in the National League now, third attempt at coming back up. First season in the National League was in a really bad way, didn't quite manage to make it into the playoffs. Last season they did make it into the playoffs, they finished fourth, really, really strong end to the season. Going into the playoffs, things were looking good, but they ended up losing to Southend in what was a really, really good game, but they've fallen short in that, Rochdale. So the disappointment of that is carrying over into this season, so they will not want the playoff finish this time around. They want to go on and win this league for sure. They will not want to be dealing with that again, especially when they're in a position where it's technically in their own hands. Same for York, though, with them playing each other. It could be in either of their hands, whichever one of them, if they was to win their remaining games from now to the end of the season, all of those games, they would obviously go on and win the league. So it's between them two now at this stage for the title. Everyone else is a bit too far behind, but certainly going to be interesting. And you get this quite a lot in this league, two-horse race, and this is very much like Notts County and Wrexham, and they went head-to-head a couple of seasons ago. It was a very, very memorable title race. This feels a lot like that for sure. And well, it's the thing with this is though, the worry is for whoever, that one of them two will miss out. One of them two at this stage will finish second and miss out and have to go for the playoff. The worry is for them is on paper they should just be able to win the playoffs. They should be the favourites to win the playoffs. Should go on and win it. There's no reason why they couldn't. It doesn't work like that though. The last few seasons, in particular in this league, have shown us. It's logical to think, they've beaten majority of teams throughout the season, going into the playoffs, like they did in the regular season. They'll just be able to beat the teams they're going up against. But over recent years, it's not always the way. A lot of teams have had sort of the big clubs that are doing well in the Football League now have had failed attempts at going up through the playoff. That's why winning this league is so important. If you think Stockport, they had a couple of playoff defeats before they went up. Chesterfield, Notts County, even Wrexham as well, and Barnet even last year as well. They lost out on the title a couple of years ago, and they looked certain to be favourites for the playoffs, and things just went wrong in the playoffs. They got battered by Solihull Moors in the first game, and the same thing happened to York last year actually as well, which is why they'll want to avoid this playoff so badly. Last season they finished in second and looked favourite for the playoff for sure, but when it comes to the playoff, they ended up losing in the semi-final, the first match they were playing in it, quite badly as well. So they'll want to avoid that. And it does feel it's very, very harsh that a very, very good season that you produce can just all come crashing down based on one bad 90 minutes. But that's the nature of this league, and that's why I think both of them will be so desperate just to get it over the line. Rochdale recently have had a few draws, and York seems to be coming into their best form of the season. Up until this point, it's felt like Rochdale were in control. Now it's slightly in favour of York, but it really could go either way. And I really hope on the final day that we get the winners takes all Rochdale-York match, because that will be really memorable, and I could see it being a really, really memorable day. Whoever wins, the fans on the pitch at the end of the game, I could see it being an incredible game that on the final day. So hopefully we get something like that, a bit like with the Wrexham and Notts County, but this would be even better than that probably, because that match between them, that great game, was actually a few weeks before the season finished. This would be the last game, which I think that would really would be something special. Going down into the rest of the league now, it'll be one of them two that wins the league. One of them have to go into the playoffs, but who are that team that go into the playoffs has to face in those playoffs? Let's have a look at that. So in third place, you've got Carlisle. Carlisle have played 34 matches as well, and they're on 68 points. So they're probably they are too far behind, really, I think, at this stage to get in amongst the title race. A lot of people had Carlisle as the winners this season in the National League after coming down from League Two. You would have thought they would be right up there, and they have been, to be fair. Now, the only thing is, with this league, quite often teams go down, and it doesn't go like that. York, for example, we've just spoken about, are a perfect example of this. They went down in 2016, and if they come up even if they come up this year, 10 years that has taken them to get back to the Football League. So, Carlisle doing this well, I think they do deserve a lot of credit. It's not easy after the relegation from this league to get back up again and go again. A lot of teams seem to really struggle with it, and there's so many teams that have just Football League sides, teams that are in the Football League for years, that have just faded after the relegations in the National League. So Carlisle, I think the job they've done, they deserve a lot of credit for sure. Not enough to win the league, but through the playoff, I think they'll be a real threat at this stage. They did lose this week, 1-0. I think it was 1-0 to Hartlepool. I can't remember the scores actually. They did lose to Hartlepool, and the only thing with them is they'll want to hold on to the third place, because then they'll get the home game in the semi-final. It doesn't always. Last season it didn't. The two that finished second and third went out. But in theory, it'd make it easier. You want the home game in the semi-final, and you missed the elimination stage, so they would definitely want that at this stage. The only thing is, the two behind them starting to. This is where they've got games in hand. So you've got Boreham Wood. They've got a game in hand. They've played 33 games, and they're on 63 points. So they are, if they was to win the game in hand, could really bring them right up close to Carlisle. Now, Boreham Wood, newly promoted this season, will come back up last season. So coming into this season, not a lot of people would have expected them to be in and amongst the promotion race already. Now, before their relegation from the National League 2 seasons ago, they were in and amongst the promotion race most seasons. And they're one of the teams that, to be honest, out of all the teams that have not yet made it to the Football League, Boreham Wood are one of the teams that are really unfortunate to have not done it, because they've been in the playoff a lot of times. I think they've had about 3 or 4 playoff defeats across the last sort of 10 years or so. It does feel like they're a team that they could well get to the Football League soon. Could this be the year? They look pretty good for a playoff place at this moment, so it could be, could well be for sure. And at the moment, they are in the top. If they finish fourth or fifth, they'll have a home game, which I think they'll really want as well, going into this as well for sure. Now, such a good start to the season. They've had a little bit of a blip in form just after sort of the Christmas sort of period, and that's what really has sort of meant they faded from the title race. But form's picked up again recently. They're 4 games unbeaten, and they're looking like they could even give Carlisle something to think about for that top 3 spot. So Bournemouth definitely a threat and definitely a team to keep an eye on. Scunthorpe also newly promoted. They're in 5th. They only come back up last season as well, and they've gotten going straight away in this division as well. The only thing with them is bad run of form. Only 1 point in the last 5 games. Not really sure what's gone on with their form there. But they are on 60 points, I believe, at this moment. Play 33 as well. So they've also got a game in hand to Carlisle, which could put them in the picture as well. But the form they're on is worrying. And although they've got a comfortable lead over 8th place at the moment, they aren't there yet, and they need to be a bit careful to not throw this away. I think they'll be all right now, Scunthorpe. I think they've probably got too much of a lead, but they won't want to be going into the playoffs on this sort of form because it doesn't exactly bode well. And they'll want the home game as well. The season they've produced, they've done really well up to this point. They want to hang on to at least the top 5 to make sure they can play at home in the playoff as well. Forest Green are on the exact same as Scunthorpe. Something's gone wrong there as well. At 1 point in the last 5 as well. Again, so poor form. They've played 34 as well. So they're one of the teams that have played the extra game, and they're on 59 points. They've got a 7-point lead over 8th place. The form they're on is a bit worrying. 7 points with the amount of games to go in the National League. It's all at different stages. Some teams have got 10 left to go, some 12. So there's still time that 7 points, in theory, if there's a drastic turn in form, could, which there kind of has been with Forest Green with this poor run they're on right now, it could still go wrong for them. You'd think they would hold on to the top 7, but need to be a bit careful. It was in the title race in the earlier parts of the season. It's just really faded though. And it did a bit last season as well, to be honest, but they did finish in the top 3 last season. It's looking at this rate like the best they're probably going to get is a playoff finish, and having to go away from home, which will make things a lot more difficult for Forest Green Rovers for sure. Southend are in 7th. Southend are an interesting club. Real bad years, some real unfortunate times. When they got taken over though in 2023, late 2023, things started to really look up. Massively improved season in that particular year. Last year, there's a lot of expectation coming into the season that they would kick on. Didn't get off to the best of starts, but they really hit good form towards the end of the season. Went into the playoffs, having finished 7th, the lowest playoff position. Won away at Rochdale, won 4-3 in extra time, and they're 3-1 down in that game as well, and come from behind. Incredible turnaround, incredible performance from Southend, and that's what these playoffs are all about. They really are, like, there is some really, because they've only been one-legged ties as well, not unlike the Football League. There tends to be a lot of action. There quite often is a lot of goals. And there was in Southend's games last year were really, really entertaining in this. They also then went and played Forest Green in the semi-final last year, who finished in 3rd place, and then they managed to beat them as well. So this is what they can do in these type of games. Although Southend, their performances don't seem to have been as good as some of the teams above them. They've not had quite the level of consistency that the top 2 or 3 have. What they do seem to do is sharpen the big games, and that's shown this season as well. They've had some big results in the big games, and then playoff performances last season show that as well. They seem to really relish the big occasion. That seems to really bring the best out of this team, and I think the fans really help them as well. They've got very, very good support. I think they really get behind the team in them sort of games, and I think that's why they did so well in the playoffs last year. Very unlucky not to go up as well. The Oldham, the final against Oldham, 2 big teams that should be in the Football League really. It was always going to be a really tight game, could go either way. Really, really entertaining match, and it was. And they were so unlucky. They led in the game, Southend, for a while, and they ended up losing in extra time after a really, really quality game of football. And that it so often is this playoff final. It so often does go to extra time or decided on extra time or penalties, because the 2 teams are usually a very, very good level for this kind of level of football. It's it's a league that has improved so much over the last decade in particular, and now I feel like it's a league that there is a lot more interest in these days, which there definitely should be, for sure. But Southend, I think, in the playoff this season, which I think they'll get in now, will be a real threat. They're on 52 points and played 31. They've got games in hand, crucial games in hand potentially on Forest Green. Bear in mind, they're 7 points behind Forest Green, but with these games in hand and with the form that Forest Green are on, and also the form that Southend are starting to show, I think they could well move above them now. And there's, Scunthorpe not that far ahead either, not a million miles ahead. They could even make it to a position, Southend maybe, where they have a home game in the playoff, which would bode really well as well. Although saying that, they didn't have a problem going away from home last season. So I think whatever position they're in, as long as they get in this top 7, Southend, which I really do fancy them to do so from this point, I think through the playoff, I think there could be a real threat to anyone, and even whoever it is out of York and Rochdale. I don't think I want to go up against Southend in a semi-final or a final. I really don't. I think that would be a team they want to avoid for sure, or they want to avoid the playoffs. Them two, full stop. In particular, Southend, feel could cause them a sort of team that could cause them a real problem. They seem to really sharpen the big stage, like I mentioned. So they want to avoid them. Now, the two that I'm going to mention that are just outside the playoffs in 8th and 9th right now, everyone else below is in this league's probably too far behind at this stage. Now, it's worth mentioning that Aldershot Town and Boston United have both had a massive upturn in form recently. They've both shown massive improvements in form. Both of them really good runs of form, but they're probably too far behind at this stage. I think it's about 15 points roughly for both of them behind the playoffs for this season at least. Them two are probably too far behind, but definitely worth keeping an eye out for them because they have shown significant improvement in the second half of the season. Both of those two clubs. Halifax Town in 8th place. Now they've played 35 games, more than anyone else in the top part of the table, which is a bit of which is what I think is going to cause them a problem at this stage. And they are on 52 points. They're only behind Southend on goal difference. Southend have got 4 games in hand of them, and they've played a similar amount of games to Forest Green. Forest Green have got 1 more game to play to them as well. So even catching them at this stage feels quite unlikely. They did get that big equaliser against Rochdale the other night, which has really, they needed that because it's just about, they've shown they've just about got some fight left in them, Halifax, and they're a team that have had a lot of playoff defeats in this league as well. A lot of playoff defeats, so it does feel like, it's got to happen for them eventually, but when it gets to the playoffs, they just never seem to have shown up like last season. Well, their biggest problem, I think, is the fact that they concede too many goals. Look at Southend, got a very, very good goal difference, very, very hard to beat. Halifax concede way too many goals, they score a lot of goals, and in particular, this season they've scored a lot of goals, but they conceded pretty much the same amount as they've scored. So that's obvious where the problem is, and that's shown in the playoffs last year when they lost 4-0 at Oldham in the playoff. That's what I think is going to hold Halifax back this year. The fact that they have played 4 more games though than Southend, who were the only team that it feels like they could really catch them. You never know with Forest Green. The form they're on, and even Scunthorpe, is worth keeping an eye on here. If they go on a really good run, Halifax, they've definitely still got a chance. But they've played the games more than Southend and not made them count. And the fact they're not above them, and Southend have got these games in hand, if they had at least got something out of those games and had a bit of a lead over it, put a bit of pressure on Southend, but that Southend, I feel now, could actually afford a few slip-ups, really, if they're actually going to stay above Halifax, because they've got so many, well, they've got 4 more extra games to play. Hartlepool 9th, Hartlepool on 51, so they're only a point off the playoff. They play 34 games, so a game in hand on Halifax, but again, Southend got games in hand on them as well, and they're 8 points off of Forest Green, 9 off of Scunthorpe, so it's going to be hard to catch them. So if they need to go, what they need is to go on a really, really good run, which is possible. Big win against Carlisle the other night. They're starting to show a bit of form now, Halifax. So I think they're going to make a Hartlepool. I think they're going to make a real late push for playoffs, a late run for it. But it's whether or not they can get in there or not. I think it's going to be hard to call at this stage. But definitely between York and Rochdale for the title, could go either way. Rest of the playoff though is going to be very, very tight. There'll no doubt be some really, really good playoff games. And yet again, this league is been one of the most competitive out of the lower leagues, as it so often is. So it'll be really exciting to see how this title race goes, and let's hope we have a really dramatic end to the season like there normally is.